Real estate agents have a major problem, and it's the fact that the public perception of them deems them as untrustworthy and in unfavorable light. In fact, only 17% of the general public views real estate agents favorably. Now, this is less than lawyers and only slightly above used car salesmen. So, what's the problem here? Because after all, millions of homes are bought and sold yearly, and agents are used in almost 90% of those transactions. Well, I have a feeling that the majority of the problem stems from the fact that all of the things agents think that they're doing to convey value are really just part of the things that they should be doing as part of their job description. The harder part is articulating the value proposition and the things in between the lines that a client doesn't always see and can't tangibly feel, which makes it harder to convey. So today we're going to dive into the top 9 skills that I think make up a successful agent. And if you're planning on hiring an agent at any point, these are some things I would definitely think to keep in mind. Now, number 1 is no surprise, it's going to be communication. And communication is probably the most critical aspect, depending on who you talk to, because it's going to set the tone for not only the foundation of the relationship with the client, but how things progress throughout the transaction. Now, if you're a buyer or a seller, you want communication on your terms. You want to know that the agent is going to be available when you're available, and they're going to communicate in a manner that you can understand and digest. Now, whether that is text messages, email, phone calls, Zoom, Skype, I would highly recommend setting that precedent on the front end with them and making sure that they are on the same page, understanding the way that you like to receive information. So that way, if they're calling you nonstop when you really want to be texting, it makes it a little bit easier throughout the conversation. Now, communication doesn't just stop when it comes to the type of messaging. This is the whole transaction because the transaction is extremely complex. So the agent needs to be able to clearly communicate all the nuances throughout the inspection process, the offer, the lending, any special stipulations and things to understand throughout or what to look for. And I know a lot of times the biggest issue is the fact that clients don't always know the questions to ask because they're not doing this day in and day out. Your average person may only sell a handful of homes throughout their lifetime. So it's impossible to expect them to understand everything that they need to know about the process. And this is where an agent should really be proactively giving more information on the front end and over communicating in a sense where it doesn't matter if you're saying things that are very basic because you never know what a client may forget about. And this is very important, especially when communicating offers, that buyers and sellers understand everything that's going into the offer, the inspection report, how all that plays out, and how we can kind of get to the closing table and the negotiation. So number 1, definitely communication, but a lot of that is going to be a two-way street. You need to let your agent know what you prefer and make sure that they're on board with reciprocating that type of style. Now, number 2 comes right off the heels of communicating. It's negotiation. And this is where it gets a little tricky because everyone likes to think that they're a good negotiator. But when you're looking at agents, especially if you're looking to hire one, rather than asking for some sort of sales stats or something that they can rattle off of, oh, I sold 97% of sales to list price, none of my homes expire or withdraw, 80% of my offers get accepted, I wouldn't focus so much on that because that's kind of an arbitrary thing. It doesn't really mean a whole lot to you as a client. I would actually look at this as what do they do and how do they negotiate? Now, a simple example of this is if someone was asking me this question, I view negotiating as fishing. It is a little bit of we're going to throw something out. It may be a waiting game. It could happen quickly, but you need to know when to start reeling it in and then let the fish swim a little bit before reeling in again. Because after all, there's feelings, there's emotions, there's a ton of money involved, and people are very sensitive to all of the things that could come up throughout the process, especially if it's somebody's home. And there may be some things that pop up on an inspection report, or you're trying to bring them down on price that they didn't anticipate on the front end. What we're trying to avoid is just offending somebody so that they stop responding whatsoever. And that's really where experience comes in on the negotiation side of knowing how far you can push the envelope without completely getting shut down, but also setting slightly realistic expectations with your client of they're not going to be able to get everything, the stars, the moon, and the sun. You need to be able to have a little bit of give and take. And I know when it comes to negotiating, people are looking for absolutely killers who decimate the opposing party. From what I've seen over the past decade, that's just not how most real estate transactions get done, or at least leave a good taste in everybody's mouth. Number three is going to be problem solving. Now, this is huge because it's pretty much the whole part of the transaction. And a good agent, which is also hard to tell a seller, they're going to be putting out fires before you even know them. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, a good agent is going to anticipate problems, they're going to take care of those, and they're probably not going to tell you about it. So in all aspects of a scenario, usually if you get to the closing table and you feel like that was not very stressful or there's not a lot that happened, either it was extremely easy or you had a great agent who helped mitigate a lot of those issues along the way, or of the things that came up, they had solutions. Maybe the buyer ran into financing issues. They have lenders that can think outside the box. There were things on the inspection report. They have the contractors in the back pocket to know who to go to fix certain things and make sure the deal doesn't fall apart. They're constantly using their resources, their knowledge, their expertise, and their database to find ways to provide better solutions for you as a buyer or seller. And that is extremely important. Now, number four is one that I didn't think was as important when I was a newer agent, but as I've grown more experience, I really do value this. And this is local community knowledge. Because when you have a listing or a home for sale, it is so important to be able to convey all of the aspects of not only that neighborhood, the subdivision, but things to do in the area and really provide a lifestyle. Now, where I am in Alpharetta, Georgia, what we see is a lot of relocation buyers, whether that's through work or people just coming from out of state. They're not always very familiar with what to expect. And when it comes to Atlanta as such a large city, that leads to a lot of people spinning wheels and kind of just driving all over the place trying to figure out where they want to be. So asking the right questions and then being able to identify the type of lifestyle somebody is looking for, it can really help convey what it's like to live in a certain area. And that may end up helping somebody purchase or sell a home in a place that was otherwise a little bit more difficult if you're just throwing it online and expecting people to show up. Number five is going to be time management. Now, this is more on the agent side in terms of what makes them successful, being able to time block, work through all the tasks throughout the day, because we do wear a lot of hats and things get a little hectic. Now, successful agents, especially as they scale their careers, can hopefully bring on VAs or actual assistants and build out a team. But from a buyer and seller side, the time management aspect of it is incredibly important because it means that they are able to make time for showings or reviewing offers or contracts or negotiations. You want to be able to have availability with your real estate agent and know that they're there. It's not something that you're going to call and they're not going to return the phone until the next day. Nobody wants this. We're in an area of need information now, and it's extremely important that an agent with great time management skills will get back to you in a timely manner, and you will feel like you're heard and communicated effectively with. Number six is going to be technology. Now, this may seem a little counterintuitive because it is important that everyone stays up with technology, but as a seller, you want an agent that is embracing the latest marketing trends, whether that's marketing on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. They need to know how to take a house and get it in front of as many people as possible. Nothing drives me crazier more than seeing these multi-million dollar homes, or any home for that matter, which just has photos. That means the agent has really done nothing other than putting it in the MLS to actually gain attention and traction with that property. Now, a lot of times people think that they're actually doing videos, but they're really just having the photographer compile a slideshow of still photos. And that also does not paint a picture of the property or the lifestyle that the home and property exudes. So we do want somebody that is able to embrace the trends, understands where the market is going, where the buyers are looking, and even if you're on the buying side, how they could potentially find off-market properties. So the technology is going to play a vital role in helping a seller get their home in front of more eyes for buyers. And on the buyer side, it's going to help you find more properties that may not be publicly available. Number seven ties into the technology a little bit, and that's going to be marketing. The marketing is so important. Now, a lot of this is going to mainly be on the listing side, but the one thing you're trying to avoid is just having your home listed and waiting for buyers to come to you. So if I'm interviewing an agent, I want to hear their plan. I want to understand what they're going to do. Are they going to change things weekly? Are they going to send me certain updates? Are we just waiting for showings to come through? How are they going to handle this over time as the home sits on the market? market, and what can we do to get new eyeballs. Now, one of my favorite things is if the home is in a specific subdivision or a great school district, I can easily go back into the MLS, pull all of the agents that have worked with a client in the past 3 years in that school district in a set price range, and start reaching out to them directly, making sure that they know about the property, that they maybe have somebody available for it, and at least go where you know other agents have had clients that are of similar tastes. It's all kind of these smaller things that you can do to get more people engaged and get the right people in the door. That's what marketing is really about. I know a lot of sellers are concerned with the amount of showings. I'm less concerned with having 50 showings. I'm okay if there's 5, as long as those 5 are very serious buyers and maybe 2 of them make offers. But that's something to be able to understand on the front end. Have a talk with your agent, knowing that if it's going to stress you out only seeing 1 showing every 2 weeks, the agent needs to know that so they can set proper expectations of looking at the days on market, what to expect, and making sure that you're not making any rash decisions of just hacking away at the price and potentially pushing money off the table. Following up on that is going to be number 8, which is data analysis. Now, we just touched base on this a little bit as far as pricing and days on market goes, but an agent needs to be able to understand the market trends as far as, are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Is it balanced? What are the average days on markets for a community, a school district, the price point, the absorption analysis? If no more homes hit the market at your price point, how many months of inventory are there right now before all of those homes would sell? So if you are in a property, let's say it's $500,000, but there are so many other listings and there are 12 months inventory in your price range and location, that means forget about any new listings that come to market. It's going to take a full year for all of the active ones to potentially sell. But that also helps when setting those expectations for what to expect on how many showings, the activity, and the feedback you're probably going to get. But a good agent understands not only where the market has been, but where it's going. So they can see if potentially we need to push the price based on recent comps. Maybe we can go above them. Maybe the market is trending down and we actually need to undercut things because real estate is a trailing market. Looking back 6 to 12 months, it's not always as simple as, okay, this house down the street sold for X, so we're going to list at X. There is a little bit of nitty gritty in understanding the data and where the buyer and seller activity is. Now, the last one, number 9, is going to be patience and adaptability. Now, this is huge because as an agent, you need to be able to comfort the client, whether it's the buyer or seller side. As the buyer, especially the past few years, it gets extremely frustrating looking at all these properties, submitting all of these offers, and constantly losing them just because inventory is low and competition has been fierce. So you need to be able to be the shoulder to cry on, build up the confidence of your client, and let them know, it's just the at-bats. You'll get the next one, and make sure that if somebody is absolutely falling in love with a house, that they are doing what is necessary to secure it. And if they're on the fence, make sure that they understand that there's going to be more homes out there. The adaptability part comes with being able to find ways to secure properties or buyers that may not be conventional wisdom, like we talked about before. Being able to find properties for buyers that are off market, maybe in neighborhoods that they like. Finding ways to attract new buyers to a listing that may be a little bit stale. And on the seller side, a patient agent is crucial because they can potentially be the ones to tell you to turn down an offer when they think you can do better. Over the years, I have turned away countless amounts of commission checks just because I don't think that offer is necessarily the right one for that client. Now, it would make my life much easier if everyone jumped at the first offer they received, but that's not always what makes sense. And down the road, the first phone call that I would get if it was a bad experience is going to be from that client to me of, why did you tell us to do this? So I think you need somebody that can understand, is this really what it's going to be? And can you back that up and substantiate it with data analysis or marketing trends? Or do we just need to wait a little bit longer for the next offer and buyer to come through, or the next house we're looking at it? So I hope you guys found this beneficial. These are just some of the things that I would look for in a successful agent on the buy and sell side, and things to keep in mind if you are working with agents of your own. Now, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing tons more of this content down the road. And if you have any specific questions, I would be happy to answer them throughout the process. See you all in the next one. Thanks.